this will be a little bit longer. And I think it needs to be talked about how we're feeling right now, how we're doing with everything going on around us. I think it's really important that we talk about that it's happening. Moral pressure, feeling disconnected, feeling misaligned, the pressure to do things that you might not want to do, that you don't believe should be done, that you don't believe in or stand for, or whatever that is. It is happening. The fear out there is intense, for lack of a better word. I've had more conversations in the last 2 weeks about, well, I didn't really want to, but and so I've just been thinking about the enormous amount of pressure in many different areas, on many different topics. And now the unity feels like it's being dismantled, right? The unity, at least that we thought we once lived in and felt, is not the same as what it was. And so how do we handle that? Well, the majority of people are triggered hugely. And so in a triggered brain, we default into what's called our reptilian brain, which is our old fight or flight brain. And we're dealing now with conversations with triggered people just about all the time. And conversations with triggered people are not that nice. That's the emotionally led everything, just spewing at the mouth because they were triggered. Something happened to them. They felt something, and now it has been projected onto you. And in a triggered person, in a triggered conversation, there won't be a solution. That's what I see the definition of emotional intelligence to be. How can we have a conversation? How can we continue with a relationship and be very aware of our emotions, but not project that onto somebody else? Because now we're triggered and they're triggered, and now we have this conversation, and the only thing that's going to come from it is blame, shame, guilt, fear, anger. And now you walk away with that same thing. And now you're going to more than likely have the same conversation and project that same thing. So until there's an emotionally intelligent human in the mix, in the family, in the workplace, in the relationship, the end result will not be different. And this is then what makes us stay quiet. And I think quiet is a really scary place to be when our moral compass has been challenged or is off. Because what happens when we don't believe that our moral compass is going the right direction, we give in. How many times I've heard in the last 2 to 4 weeks, yeah, well, there's just so much pressure. I just decided to do it. Or I just decided to say it. Or I just decided to go here. I just decided to, what? So how can we take the pressure that's out there and recognize what the pressure is? But how can we now bring the magnifying glass more internally to who you are and to define what you stand for? And when you stand for something, you start to live differently. You start to communicate differently. You start to see things differently. And when you're more aware, you're not as triggered. The people who are aware, that are emotionally grounded, that have strong boundaries, that are personally sound, aren't triggered by your stuff or by their stuff or by your boss's stuff or by your coach's stuff or by your spouse's stuff. You can hold space and you don't take that personally. And when that's taken personally, then you project back, right? Because you're triggered, because now you're getting defensive, and the solution of any of that is not going to be an agreement. It's going to be a fracture. And when the fracture happens morally, it's really hard to come back from that. So I want to start the conversation, this conversation that most people don't have. I see it in my practice as headaches, throat, neck stuff. It feels like everything you want to say isn't allowed. And so you just decide, the easier way today might just be to stay quiet. And now all of a sudden, that's going to be your choice tomorrow, and that's going to be your choice next week and next month. And pretty soon, there comes a point, the T in the road, the proverbial T in the road, that you have to choose right or left. And bleh, then you spew because you've been holding in all this stuff and it's getting heavier. Everything around us is getting heavier. There is more divide. There's less unity. There's less connection. There's less understanding. There's less empathy. There's less compassion. So how can you be that for yourself first? How can you be emotionally smarter, emotionally wiser, so that you can deflect the triggers that happen outside of you? You can have a real conversation and not get mad or not be scared. You can watch the news and know that, like, how to discern, like, where is that discernment bubble? How do you know what you believe and what is happening are two different things? We don't need to argue about it, but we do need to stand for something. And the longer we keep things stuffed, the longer we stay in this misaligned body, the more health issues we have, the more pain we're going to have, the more depression and anxiety you're probably going to notice, the more gut things you might feel. And if we know that this is happening to us, just imagine our kids. They have no idea what's happening, but they know they don't feel very good. They know that their classroom isn't as united as it was. It isn't. There isn't as much love. There isn't as much hugs. It's just tough. So let's be kind. And when I say let's be kind, I don't mean that if that guy's you know what, that you need to take it, but you don't need to spit it back, right? How can you see the triggers happening around you, but be fully aware when that's you? Be fully aware when that comes at you. How can you protect a bit? And how can you know that that was a triggered reaction? Somebody's lens is pointing it back at them and they don't like how that feels when someone challenges them. I mean, just take a peek at Valley News live strings. Wow. Right? Social media is the place that people can get triggered and spew stuff behind a keyboard. You need to know that that's not your stuff. You can't take that personal. And we don't want to project that to the next person. Many times the next person is someone we love a lot. It's our family. It's our coworker. It's our parent. It's our kids. Our kids are feeling the stuff. They feel it in their lives and they feel it from us in our lives. So let's make the goal to stay in your body and stay aware of your emotions and your actions and your reactions and not worry about the next guy. Because people are hurting. That doesn't make it an excuse for how they behave. But that also doesn't make them a bad person for behaving that way. Because they're struggling and they might not have as many tools as you to get out of that. I'm thankful that I can help lead so many people every day to not only be adjusted, but just to have more tools when they're struggling, when they need to speak what they mean, because they can't breathe and they're like this. So if you're struggling to breathe, if you're struggling to be calm, if you're struggling to have energy, if you have pain, like, ask your body what it needs, because the body leaves clues. I would imagine this is one of them. We can help. People around you need help. That doesn't mean you sacrifice yourself to help them. It means to understand that they're not meaning to be a bad human, but they're struggling. So the best thing we can do is take care of ourselves, take care of our heart, take care of our moral compass, and not project that onto anybody else. So I hope this was helpful. There's a lot more I'd like to say on this, of course, but I hope I was able to put it into some bite-sized things that you can take into your life, into your workplace, into your family, into your home, so that we can create some ease and some unity and some love and some connection again. So, bye guys.